If you think this ball of yarn is big, it was like twice as big before I finished making my vest. And I traveled internationally with this. I saw it with like slightly different patterns all over the internet, and I couldn't figure out like what the original pattern was or like who the original maker was, but I did know that I wanted it for myself. I've been trialing different ways to make it, and I'm really happy with what I ended up making. So a lot of folks have been complaining that cotton yarn is really hard to work with, even though I love it and I love getting yarns that are pretty good quality. So I decided to, for this video, try all these earthy tones of like really, really affordable Super Saver yarns, Big Twist yarns. They're all acrylic or polyester. And I found all of these for I think $5 each. There's some discounts applied, so it's really, really accessible. Hopefully this is what y'all wanted. I don't know yet if I'm gonna regret this, but I'll definitely let y'all know how I feel about it versus like cotton. Yeah. All right, so let's figure out how to design this. So right away, I am crocheting solid granny squares. And that's because you can see here that these aren't traditional granny squares where the double crochets kind of go in bundles of 3. Each single double crochet stitch is going in its separate space, like stitch space, between other double crochets from the previous row. And so that's what I'm doing. And another thing I'm noticing is that because they're on the diagonal, I can't just make granny squares, I also have to make these diagonal granny squares here. That's what I'm doing right now, is I'm making a bunch of these granny squares. And what I'm doing is I'm doing different colors in different orders so that they all kind of like look eclectic while still kind of being related to each other. But what I am keeping is that always, 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 the last rows are black. And finally, I noticed that the ribbing isn't like the regular crocheted ribbing. It seems to be like a machine sewn on knit ribbing. But because I wanted to make a crochet pattern out of this, I just crocheted on the ribbing later on. Not something I'm gonna show yet. I'm still just kind of figuring out how to make the granny squares. Okay. Hey folks, so I have quite a few of these already done. And it's enough that I could probably figure out how to start joining them. From the pictures, it looks like they're all lined with a double crochet, just like another basically round of just white stitches. So I'm gonna do that with my cream. And yeah, I think after that, I'll probably be able to just stick them together with an invisible granny square join. Hey folks, so actually, even though I said I was gonna work on adding all the pieces together, I actually just wanna take a second to tie in all the loose ends, so that's what I've been doing. So I put the edges on a lot of these granny squares, the white edges, and then I started sticking them together. I'm very happy with how they're joining. And I just have to make sure that it also fits, which is why I'm joining them before I finish making all those squares that I really need to make. So, does it fit around my waist? If it does, then I can finish the rest of them. Okay, so I'll see y'all tomorrow. Yeah. So this is where I'm at. And when I measure it, it's not perfectly measuring right now, but it's like 33 inches long. And I'm like 32 inches around the waist, but like 35 inches around my torso. I don't know if this is gonna fit. I'm just gonna try to stick this side to that side and see if it works. And if it doesn't, then we'll figure it out from there. Hey, good morning. So I try to stick together a lot of these granny squares. The way that they're stuck together is like kind of incompletely, and that's on purpose in case I have to take the whole thing down. But it also means like it's really hard to put on. So I think I want to use my old pattern that I already developed for my shirt and adjust it to be more vest shaped. Basically, vests are more tight fitting than shirts. So I already know I want a lot less of this on the sides here. I also know that I want it to be shorter and I want the bottom to not be really round. So maybe something like this. And I know that for the front piece specifically, I want the neck to kind of come down quite a bit. Maybe as a triangle, maybe like this. But part of the look of the vest is that the diagonal squares kind of meet in the middle here. So with that in mind, let's try to put on the vest that I've already made. It does kind of fit this like shorter size. And yes, it is shorter here on the bottom. I think I'm gonna need more to get this V shape here, but thankfully I actually made bunch of extras. Huh. Let me actually change the directions of this, because I think with the amount of squares that I need, that it's actually misplaced right now. So if I move all of them like half of a granny square down, yes, that's a lot better. So now I can make it a little taller without having any issues. So I can put the squares here instead. Ha! And that gives you that triangle that I wanted. Okay, good. I was like, I think it's like a really awkward shape and size, but now it makes sense again. So there, and then that has to happen in the front and the back, so I have enough for that. The back is gonna need an extra one, but the front won't have one here because it's gonna be open. And then I guess I need a couple more of these half grannies. This is a full granny. I'm gonna need half grannies for here and here because I need to be able to put my arm through. And then probably like an extra half granny up here, like this, so that I can put it on the front and back. Okay, I think I got it. So I have to make 0 more of the full grannies, which is awesome, because I made exactly the amount I needed without even really thinking about it. And then for the diagonals, I have to make 1, 2 for front and back, 3, 4 for front and back here, sleeves, and then 5, 6 for the shoulders. Yeah. Hey, so as I was making these, I usually make 5 rows of colors and then I usually make a black row at the end. And I realized that like, to give that tapered effect where like the sleeves kind of come in, I wasn't expecting to be able to do it, but because these squares fit right at the edge, I realized that making 1 less row, so just like 4 colors at a time, would probably help to give that effect a little bit, where everything's kind of moved in a little bit more, and that might leave more space for me to put ribbing on the edges. That's actually gonna match that shape that sleeves have. So yeah, 1 less row for all the edges, and I think that's also gonna include the top here. I might even say you could get away with just doing 3 rows, but I'm gonna say 4 for now. Okay, cool. Hello, so today's really hectic. I'm going to the Dominican Republic tomorrow really early in the morning. And so I want to keep working on this project while I'm there. I'm just visiting family. It's like not a big deal. So I didn't want to bring all these big things of yarn. So I wanted to make sure I at least did the diagonal granny squares, which is the last of the color work I have to do. And then the rest of it is all the white yarn, which is the biggest ball of yarn, but whatever. I have a camera up here and I just wanted to see if now these diagonal squares do the job of fixing what I have to fix here, and it looks like they do. And I like that I actually made them a little bit smaller because it does that effect that I wanted it to, where like the sleeves are kind of like pushed in, and that leaves a little bit more room for the ribbing here on the edges. And then this piece is gonna be here, and then this piece is gonna be here. And that's perfect. So to imagine what the front's gonna look like, that's basically it right there. So the front looks good, and then the back is gonna be like that. Does the back make sense? Now that I look at it, I think these 2 granny squares here should have been not diagonals, but like 3/4 granny squares. Ugh, okay. So that means I have to redo 2 of these to make them 3/4 granny squares. Maybe I won't get to finish this before I go to the Dominican Republic. That's fine. I will be back on a Monday and I can edit a video and have it up by the weekend. Okay. Can't rush perfection, right? If you enjoy this style of video, give me a like. And of course, subscribe so you can follow and see more. It's 6 a.m. I'm going on my flight and I'm gonna bring this. So let's see how far I get. It's gonna be a long flight. I already started putting some single crochet ribbing here on the bottom, but yeah, I'm at my parents' house and I did all of this joining during the flight. But yeah, I put this on just to check whether the sizing is right. And it feels good, it looks good. I'm not done, like I have still these, but I am otherwise pretty happy with it. So yeah. Honestly surprised me how long it took to stick all these granny squares together, because it took the whole time. Like I wasn't really even on my phone the whole flight. I know this is not like the best angle. I didn't bring my tripod or my lights, but yeah, this is where I'm at.
Chiqui, ve, mira lo que tiene Román. ¿Quieres estar con Román? Ve, siéntate con él, ve. Muchachito lindo de mama.
So I finished sticking on the sleeves, and as you can see, they look pretty good. I still have to add ribbing here and here. I'm a little bit worried that adding the ribbing is gonna make this stick out too far, but if I were to have made these granny squares any smaller than this, they wouldn't have worked. The armhole would have been just too small. So this is kind of what I have to do. Also, I'm realizing this kind of looks like boobies. Whatever. Another thing I realized is that this is too long for a vest. It's just a little too long. So I'm going to remove these full-size squares here and here and replace them with these diagonals up here. And that way it'll be the right length once I add the ribbing. So just the ribbing makes everything a little too long. I'm really not looking forward to taking this apart because they're all kind of connected to each other. So like removing one square is gonna mean redoing a lot of work. But I am committed to giving y'all the right vest. So I will do what I gotta do. So that wedding was 800 people. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I was expecting a big wedding, like 300 people, but that was insane. Okay, so last night, I finally went in and I made it a lot shorter. So I made it half a granny's shorter, which means I took out the equivalent of like this, and then replaced this with this, boop. And there you have it. And you can see that makes it like pretty short, but nothing crazy. And I have to add the ribbing to it now. I already started adding ribbing here at the front. And normally when I would do ribbing, I would just have it only attached to the bottom, but because I want this to be a really straight angle, I attach the ribbing both here
on this square and on this square. And when I come back through the other side, I'm gonna attach it onto this edge here. See how it's a little bit shorter? I'm gonna make the rib around here. Be good. I put it on because I was afraid that the neck hole was getting too small. But you can see here I did some right angles, some diagonals, and then right angles on the back. I don't want to have to carry this big ball of yarn in my carry-on, which is what I did on my way here because it was fun. So I'm gonna try to finish doing this border now, and I think I should be able to do it in just like an hour or two. My flight is like in 6 hours, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Hello. It only took me 45 minutes to do this. Finished. Look at that. It is very rectangular because the sleeves are made the way that they are. I considered coming in and just like making them smaller, but I didn't. This is it. So I'm gonna put it on right now for y'all. Perfectly wearable, the look has been accomplished. I am satisfied. Hello, I'm currently booking a flight on a taxi on the way back to my mom's house because there's a hole on the runway in the airport and every flight was canceled. So yeah, there's no runway. We might have to go to a different city to get back to Chicago, but yeah.
But people can say he's lying, that my flight didn't go. No flights moved. Ya me respondió.
Hey folks, I'm back in Chicago, and I'm wearing the finished vest, except it's not finished. The stitches are kind of wavy here and here. They're like not really keeping their shape very well. And part of that is just like the fact that like I think the shoulders might be a bit too wide. This top square here, it has to have an edge to it. There's maybe ways around it, but it would be really difficult to kind of create a pattern for this granny square. I'm gonna take this off, give it a nice block. I'm gonna do a steam blocking. I'll show y'all what that looks like. I took off this corner here because I wanted to make the sleeves kind of go in a little bit more. And to do that, I had to make these triangles smaller. And to make this make sense and not jut out like this, which would have been weird for the sleeve shape, I had to cut the corner off. So the way that I did that was I did a 3/4 granny square for 1, 2, 3 layers. And then the 4th, 5th, 6th layer, I did this thing where I just didn't add any new stitches. So yeah, now I just have to take a deep breath. I have to sew in all the ends, I have to stick these back together, and then I have to flip this onto itself so that it turns into a sleeve again. Finally, I'm done. As you can see, my shoulders are actually out this time and they're not like all the way over here. It fits, like as far as how it feels in my body, it feels really good. There's the back, there's the front, sleeves. You can see the sleeves are like a lot more taken in than they were before. I'm definitely glad about this choice to make it shorter here, because it's a lot shorter than it was before. It was like all the way down to here before.
The sleeves are a lot less loose than they were before, which was a big part of why I redid them. So that is a plus. So, what do you think?